Okay, so we're back in our series on angels in the spirit realm. So we've done 14 lessons and a review so far. We've looked at angels and we've been going through different beings in the spirit realm, the Seraphim, the Cherubim, and the four living creatures of Revelations. And so today we're going to look at just the whole hierarchy of all of the various beings. And so we're going to look at the hierarchy as presented, the Christian hierarchy, which is referred to, and the Jewish hierarchy. And so kind of seeing what else is there, what's left. And see that there's more left than what we've covered.
Probably.
But we aren't going to cover all of them. But let's see, so I'll start by reading Colossians 1:15-16. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him.
Amen.
So everything was created through Jesus and for Jesus. And so we're going to look at the angelic hierarchy. And so a definition of angelic hierarchy, one is a hierarchy of angels is a belief or tradition found in many different religions, which holds that there are different levels or ranks of angels. Higher ranks may be asserted to have greater power or authority over lower ranks. And so we've talked about, or I talked about how, it doesn't never really say that cherubim and seraphim are angels, and angels mean messengers. So, but why do we call them messengers? But then if we're talking about angelic hierarchy, then that's kind of alluding to everything being an angel as well. And so one of the person who kind of came with the Christian hierarchy, his rationale was, he says, angels are the lowest rank of spiritual being, but all of the higher ranks have the same powers and illuminations as the lower ones. So he says it's okay to call them angels because they have all the powers of angels, even though they may be something higher. So some religions that have angelic hierarchies are Judaism, Catholicism, Islam, some of the Jewish mystical religions, Sikhism, and some of the New Age religions talk about angelic hierarchy. So we're going to look at the Christian or Catholic hierarchy and the Jewish hierarchies. Okay, so we'll look at the Christian hierarchy or the Catholic hierarchy. So Catholic hierarchy of angels is referred to as a Christian hierarchy because the hierarchy was established before Christianity split from the Catholic Church. And so usually if Christians talk about a hierarchy of angels, it's the same one that the Catholics use. And the hierarchy came mostly from, it was a 5th century Syrian monk named Pseudo-Dionysius, who had some writings describing various angels and levels. And then there's also St. Thomas Aquinas, a Middle Ages Dominican friar and Catholic priest. So some of the support for it comes from the verse I read, and then also I'll read Ephesians 1:18-21. It says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people, and his incomparable great power for us who believe. The power is the same as the mighty strength he exerted when he raised Christ from the dead and seated him on his right hand in heavenly realms, far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that is invoked, not only in the present age, but also in the one to come. So in the verse when it says Jesus is higher than all rule, authority, power, dominion, so those are taken to be different beings. So there's rulers, authorities, powers, and dominions. And it says in every name that is invoked. So if we look at the Christian or Catholic hierarchy is the first one on that chart you have. So the first rank is Seraphim, is ranked as the highest. And then we're going to get into details about each of them. Then there's the Cherubim. There's the thrones, the dominions, the virtues, the powers, principalities, or number 7. 8 is archangels, and 9 are angels. And so it's talked about also that they're choirs of angels. So all the angels sing praises to God, and at their different 9 levels, they're different choirs. And so they're grouped in three spheres. So the first sphere is the seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. And those are constantly in God's presence. Mm-hmm. The second sphere is the dominions, virtues, and powers. And they work as heavenly governors. And the third sphere are principalities, archangels, and angels. And these are angels who function as heavenly guides, protectors, and messengers to human beings. Okay, so we'll start with seraphim. So we had a lesson on seraphim. Mm-hmm. So let's see, what do you guys know about seraphim?
That they're like a dragon snake with legs.
Like snakes with
yeah,
legs and wings.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I was thinking that wheels too. Not that one. That's another one.
Oh yeah, that's a different one.
Yeah, that's different. Okay, that's a different one.
Throne.
Yeah.
Yeah, the seraphim, they are guardians of God's throne. They give worship to God.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw from studying the Bible. And so from some of the tradition and Catholic other traditions, some of the qualities they ascribe to seraphim, which aren't necessarily, well, here they are. So they aren't necessarily clearly stated in the Bible, but so tradition has it that they understand God with the greatest clarity, and they continually shout praises to God. And so, yeah, so the seraphim, so we know the seraphim. And second is the cherubim. Mm-hmm. So the cherubim, we saw like in Ezekiel's vision, the face of a man, a lion, an eagle, an ox. They're guardians of God's throne. We saw that they're part of God's chariot. They're part of the chariot that God rode upon. They're on the Ark of the Covenant, and God comes and rests between them. And we saw that they were also the 4 living creatures in Revelation were cherubim. Mm-hmm. And so from tradition, they're thought to guard God's glory both on earth and by his throne in heaven. So they guard the glory of God, wherever God is, his presence. God often dispatches them to intervene with the acts of man. So like they were dispatched in Revelation to guard the tree of life, and that they worship God. So we studied those. And the third one is the thrones. Mm-hmm. So the thrones are often also equated to the Ophanim, or the wheels, the one you were talking about, Eric. So the thrones are equated to be those, the wheels within the wheels.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, so they're part of the chariot also. They were part of Ezekiel's vision, a wheel within a wheel.
Yeah.
And you remember anything else about them? The Ophanim?
I think the part of the wheels where they were constantly, the eyes were moving.
Yeah,
they had a lot of eyes.
Yeah, they were covered with eyes.
Covered eyes.
Yeah, covered with eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so from tradition it says that they bring justice, they have the highest knowledge of the works of God. God's spirit is said to be within them. Mm-hmm. That was mentioned. So God's spirit is within them. They symbolize divine justice and judicial power, and that they're the closest to God. So it's interesting that they're listed as third and thought to be the closest to God. So that's the first sphere, the ones that serve God. So the second sphere, angels that work as heavenly governors. The first of those is the dominions. So the dominions are equated to the Jewish, we'll see Hashmalim. And then in pseudo-diagnosis book, they were called lords. And they're referenced in Ephesians 1:21. So from tradition, the dominions regulate the heavens. They regulate the duties of lower angels. It is only with extreme rarity that they make themselves physically known to humans. Dominions are believed to look like divinely beautiful humans with a pair of feathered wings. So similar to what the depictions we see of angels. So, yeah, so this is how they're described. Then there's virtues. The virtues are also known as strongholds. And they're referenced in Ephesians 1:21. From tradition, they're workers of miracles on the earth. They supervise in nature and heavenly bodies to ensure the cosmos will remain in order and responsible for the maintenance of the physical universe. Then come the powers. So the powers are also known as warrior angels.
Yeah. I see that.
And known as authorities.
Okay, each of the powers have one name, different names, right?
You mean each of them has a proper name, you mean?
I think proper name. I think we have to talk about, did we, on this one, because we had proper names to this one?
You mean like they have a name?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they each have a name.
Yeah.
We just don't know them all.
It's on them all? Okay.
But
yeah, so I have 20 names.
But I think I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. But yeah, so I'll get there in a second.
All right, go ahead. I don't want to be too far to get.
And they're thought to protect mankind from evil spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Their duty is to oversee the distribution of power among humans, hence the name powers. Mm-hmm. And so when I heard that, I thought of the phrase, the powers that be. When you say the powers that be, if the powers that be allow it, people always say that expression. And then the powers are thought to distribute power among humans. So I thought that's interesting that's a common expression. Mm-hmm. The powers that be. They confront the fight against any forces that oppose God's plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, getting back to what you just said, that is the phrase, right, is there, and you hear people saying that. Mm-hmm. That is almost like people has been saying that the writing is on the wall. Mm. You don't even know what they said. So.
Oh, from the Bible
so that's
verse.
From way before, right? Somebody must have studied this that you're saying. Mm. That those sayings are there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people don't know why they say it.
Yeah. Let's see. So next we have principalities. Mm-hmm. So we did talk about them. So they're also known as rulers or princes.
Yeah.
And so they're the first and the third sphere. So the third sphere operate as messengers and soldiers. Mm-hmm. And they function as heavenly guides, protectors, and messengers to human beings. So their principalities are known as rulers, and they're also known as princes. Mm-hmm. And so I think what you may have been referring to is, so Michael in the book of Daniel is referred to as the chief. Yeah. One of the chief princes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
And then he's also thought to be he is the angel over Israel. Mm-hmm. But then he's also so he's chief. If he's a chief prince, so that means he's over the princes. And then the powers are warrior angels, and we know he fought against Satan. Mm-hmm. So it would fit that he would be a power. Yeah. Would make sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from tradition, the principalities, they're concerned with the welfare of nations. So principalities are over various nations. They oversee groups of people, inspire people to the arts and sciences, and care for nations and cities. That's principality. And then next in the Christian hierarchy is archangels. And so, but Michael is listed, although Michael is listed as an archangel. So Michael's listed, and he's the only one listed as an archangel in the Bible. And so some people, so there are 7 angels in heaven that Jesus had the 7 stars. So some people consider those to be archangels.
Yeah.
And so from tradition, they deliver God's most important messages to mankind. And so the Catholics consider Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel as archangels as well. So they have 4 archangels that they refer to. And then next we get to angels. And angels are ministering spirits. And so we know about angels. And so they're the lowest level. So from tradition, they look after the welfare of humans. They're messengers to various people. Then there's also thought to be concept of guardian angels. And so, yeah. So that's the Christian hierarchy. So, yeah, so that's a lot of it's tradition, but some of it's in biblical. So we can definitely accept the biblical part. The rest of it, yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No, it's a lot once you see it like this, all different angelic beings.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. So we talked about seraphim, cherubim, thrones, angels, and that's about it. So we're going to get into we're going to get into all of them. I mean, we're not going to have a whole lesson on all of those because there's not enough in the Bible for them. But get into those and then some other things. And actually a couple from the Jewish list as well. Okay.
So this is Catholic, right?
Yes.
And this is the Jewish.
Yeah. So the Jewish hierarchy was created by Maimonides in a book called the Mishneh Torah, and it counts the 10 ranks of angels. So the Jewish hierarchy has 10 ranks of angels. So the first level is the Chayat HaKodesh, or Chayat. And Chayat means chariot. And the second is the Ophanim, the wheels. Third are the Eralim. Fourth are the Hashmalim, glowing ones. Fifth are the Seraphim, burning ones. Sixth are the Malachim, the angels. Then there's the Elohim, godly beings. B'nai Elohim, which means sons of Elohim. Then they have cherubim. Then they have Shim, which means men-like creature, or it sounds like fire as well.
So isn't Elohim, that's how they call God also?
Yeah. So we'll get there. Yeah. So that one is interesting. So that and they have it listed as number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7, huh?
Yeah. So the first is the Chayat, which is the chariot, which are the living creatures, or the 4 creatures from the book of from Ezekiel's vision.
The chariots, right?
Yeah. So Ezekiel's vision of the chariot, that's the Chayat, the face of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, and they're So then they moved God's throne. So the chariot, they had their wings connected, and they carried God's throne. So they see those as chariot, and they differentiate those from the other cherubim. So those are chariot. And the second are the Ophanim. So the Ophanim are the wheels in Ezekiel's vision of the chariot. So they've, let's see, these are first construed as angels in one of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and as a class of celestial beings in the late sections of the Book of Enoch, where with the cherubim and seraphim they never sleep but guard God's throne. So this is the Ophanim, so we're in the Jewish hierarchy now. The second one is Ophanim, which are the wheels, within the wheels, the second chart. So then the third one is Elohim.
Brave ones.
Yeah, brave ones. So you want to read Isaiah 33:7?
Look, the brave men crying out loud in the streets. The envoys of peace weep bitterly.
Right. So in that verse it says the brave men cry out loud in the street, and the envoys of peace weep bitterly. So the word, and some say ambassadors of peace. So that word envoys is actually malak, which it means angel. So it actually says, look, their brave men cry out in the streets. Their angels of peace weep bitterly. And the brave men, the word for brave men is Elohim. So it says the Elohim cry out in the street. The angels of peace weep bitterly. So if you read it that way, it sounds more like the angels are a being, but then the Elohim are a different being. And so they see the Elohim, and Elohim means valiant ones. So they see them as being a separate level of beings, the Elohim. And so that's all we have in the Bible about them. So the next, so Elohim, and the next one is Hashmalim. And so all of these have M at the end, like cherubim, seraphim, because M just means plural. So this was Hashmal. One of them is a Hashmal. And then if it's more than one, you put an I-M after it. So it's a cherub. If it's more than one, you say cherubim. If it's
So all these from Ophemion, they're all plural.
Yeah, just plural. So they so the Hashmal, then they added an I-M to make it Hashmalim. Let's see. Oh, Eric, you have Ezekiel 1:4.
Okay. Ezekiel 1:4. All right. Yes, I do. Bam. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal. Want to keep going?
Oh, no, that's good. Okay.
Okay.
So that's from Ezekiel's vision.
Yeah.
So in the NASB, it reads it a little differently. It says, I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud of fire flashing forth continually, and bright light around it. And in the midst, something like glowing metal in the midst of the fire. So the NASB is more like saying there was something like glowing metal in the midst of the fire. So the word glowing metal is hashmal, or amber. So the Jews see those as being a separate being that was in the midst of the fire. So the amber or the hashmal. And so the Septuagint, the Latin Bible, in Latin, hashmal is electron, and which means amber in English. And so hashmal became the modern word, the modern Hebrew word that translates to electricity. Yeah, so they believe the hashmalam. So there were also, and when we look, there's a belief that those were seraphim, but in the Jewish hierarchy, those are a separate being, hashmalam, that were there in the midst of the fire. Okay, then the next one they have Seraphim, which is from Isaiah 6. So we know Seraphim,
Burning ones.
burning ones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those are the Seraphim. So we have seen
Yeah.
Seraphim. And then next they have Malachim, which are angels.
Yeah.
So they don't have angels at the bottom. Angels are the messengers of God. So they have Malachim next. And then after that, they have Elohim, which is interesting. So if we look at Elohim, so Elohim is used for God,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's used other places. So in
Like
Genesis 1:1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth."
Right.
So God there is Elohim.
Yeah.
So it's in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and earth. So it's God. So it's a
Yeah,
word
yeah,
for God.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
kind of wondrous, like, well, why did they put
Right.
God as seventh in the hierarchy? But then do you have Exodus 20:3? So this is God speaking.
You shall have no other gods before me.
Right, so God is saying, you should have no other gods before me. And guess what the word for gods there is?
Elohim.
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 So he's not referring to himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying, you should have no other Elohim before me. So he's referring to something else that's not him. So Elohim in the Bible, it occurs in the Torah. In some cases, it behaves like a singular noun in Hebrew grammar, and then generally understood denotes the single God of Israel. So sometimes if it's used Elohim as a singular, then it's talking about God, the God of Israel, Yahweh.
Yeah.
But in other cases, Elohim is an ordinary plural, because Elohim is a plural word. It's plural for the word Eloah. So Eloah is a word for God, but then to make it plural, you put an I-M on it, so Elohim. And then when it's used in that method, it refers to the polytheistic notion of multiple gods. So it's the gods that the pagans, the non-Jewish people worshipped. So it's used in both ways. So the Elohim, when they put it as seventh, is talking about the other beings referred to. So when God said, you shall have no other gods before me, they're referring to the gods that he was referring to, or the Elohim that he was referring to there. And then, and we may have a lesson on that. But then the next one is the B'nai Elohim, which are the sons of God. Let's see, you have Job 1:6.
Yeah. Shall we ready? Alrighty. Oops, keep slipping. Okay. Yeah. All right. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan, and Satan also came with them.
Yeah, so the angels came to present themselves before God,
Yeah.
and Satan came with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the word angels there isn't Malachim. The word is B'nai Elohim. They call it, they translated it angels. It's the same word when it's Genesis 6, when they say, and the B'nai Elohim saw the daughters of man and thought that they were beautiful.
Yeah.
So this one is saying that one day the B'nai Elohim came.
Yeah, came to present themselves before the Lord. So the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. So sons of God, they have that as a separate being. So separate from angels and separate from cherubim, the sons of God. Because here it's clearly that these are spiritual beings. And they could have used the word angels, but they chose not to use the word angels. So there's a differentiation between them and the angels. So, I mean, some people would say it's a title and not necessarily denoting what type of being it is. But, but there's a clear reason that word was used versus saying angel. And so we may have a lesson on that one too. Sons of God. because Jesus says we'll be sons of God.
There's a lot to dig into, huh?
Yeah. Yes. And so the next on the Jewish hierarchy is the cherubim. So they have cherubim pretty low down, and they're separate from the chariot or the chariot. So cherubim in Genesis 3:24, after he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the garden cherubim and a flaming sword, flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. So the cherubim are thought to be, cherub angels are known for their work at helping people deal with sin that separates them from God so that they can draw closer to God. And the cherubim angels appear in the Torah accounts of what happens after humans brought sin into the world while in the Garden of Eden. So in the Jewish belief that the cherubim help you overcome sin and help you get closer to God. And also prevent you from coming into God's presence if you have sin. And then the 10th and last in the Jewish hierarchy are the Shim. So Shim means man. It also sounds like the word fire. So let's see, Genesis 18:12. Do you have that? No, I'm sorry, 18:2.
Oh, there's the two. Okay.
Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground.
All right, so the 3 men, so they look like men. So in the Hebrew hierarchy, the beings that look like men are the Shim. So they're spiritual beings, but they look like men. So they're thought to be a class of angels that are closest to human affairs. They're composed of fire and snow and are described as beautiful souls of just men. So they describe them as the beautiful souls of just men. So in a sense, it kind of sounds like the Catholic concept of a saint. Or the Protestant concept of a saint, or the just men made righteous in Revelations. So that's the Jewish hierarchy. So there's 2 different. So any thoughts on that?
So they mention also on Daniel, right, 10:5. See it. So Genesis 18:2 and Daniel 10:5.
Okay, you want to read that one?
It
Or
says,
do you have it? Oh, you have it.
I
Okay.
look up and there before me was a man dressed in linen with a belt of fine gold from Uphaz around his waist.
Okay.
So there was another man, yeah.
Right. So the men in white linen. So we see many times in Bible a man in white linen. So those are thought to be the Shim, the men in white linen. And so we might have a lesson on them too. The men in white linen. The Shim. Men in white linen. And on the tabernacle, around the tabernacle, was white linen. And in heaven, in the Revelation, they had the men in white linen standing around. Represented that.
Maybe that's why they describe Jesus in white. You know, when they
Or Jesus
picture
was,
him. Yeah.
was in white. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so any other thoughts on the Jewish hierarchy?
Well, they don't give you any reference to the Bible here on this one, so.
On the, well, Elohim, there's references. We read them.
Malachim, oh yeah.
Malachim are
Elohim,
angels,
yeah.
so that's all over. The cherubim, they didn't give a reference.
Yeah.
But there's There's a couple reference, and so it's interesting that they separate the chariot from the cherubim.
And they put a number 1
Yeah.
because it's the ones like protecting God. No.
Right, and riding, or the one that God holds his throne, riding him.
I have one question. What is I know Elohim, but what is B'nai Elohim? What's the word? What's the meaning of the word B'nai?
B'nai means sons.
Sons. Okay.
So sons, B'nai Elohim is, so Elohim is like godly being, or godly. So B'nai Elohim means sons of godly beings.
Okay.
So they're, that's the term, sons of godly beings. So in Job, when you read Job 1:6, it says, and the sons of godly beings came before God to present them. And so they're, tradition has them as being watching the affairs of men and reporting back to God.
Okay.
So they're supposed to be watching what's going on and reporting back to God.
So that verse particularly means that they report back to God what Job is doing, basically.
Well, they came just to report in general.
Yeah, okay.
And then Satan came talking about Job. So they were going to do
So
whatever.
That's when God allowed Job.
So they all came
Satan,
in God's presence, and it's
they
like
came in God's presence.
it's like they went to work and then now they came, right?
And then the troublemaker came in. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm coming to do my report. Then Satan come in. Hey. What about Job?
That's when God allowed it. Yeah. I got it.
They're like, hey, I was about to give my report.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to tell them about Eric.
I love it.
That's a good guy, Eric. He want to talk about Job.
Yep.
Well, you have blessed him so much. That's why he loves you.
Yeah.
So, so sons of God. And, similar to how we see that, so Satan is the accuser. But, so the watchers, so when they fell in Genesis 6, they were supposed to be just watching and not interfering.
Well, they were jealous.
They weren't jealous.
They were jealous of the men and the women because so God created everything, and then He gave dominion to the men over the heaven, the earth, and all the animals and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
I
don't know if they were.
The angels.
But some angels were, and some say Satan. That's why Satan fell.
Maybe he was jealous.
Jealous of Adam.
Maybe Adam was more beautiful than him.
Yeah,
we're made in God's image.
Or right, but had more power and authority than him.
Yes.
And but I think when they saw the daughters of man were beautiful, I don't think that was jealousy.
That was more like they want to do evil.
Yeah. You see.
When you read Genesis 3:24, I think you showed the fact that it was the cherubim, right? That the Garden of Eden was not destroyed with the flaming sword. That's where that came from, right?
Oh, Genesis 3. So after Adam sinned, then God put the cherubim there to guard, so they wouldn't get to the tree of life.
The tree of life, yeah.
So it's like they ate from that tree of good and evil. So
right.
I don't want them to eat from the tree of life. So he put angels there to protect the pathway there. I mean, he put cherubim there.
Okay.
So that was cherubim station there.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Any questions, Mike? That's it.
Okay. So let's see. Any more for you?
No.
Okay. All right. So now we talk about the leading hierarchy. Have you heard of the leading hierarchy? No.
Leading, that's you.
Yeah, that's me.
That's all the argument. I know it's you.
No.
I'm still working on it. But what I think I will put together one. But it's kind of based on the thought, because remember Gabriel when he was talking to Zechariah, And Zachariah said, well, how will I know it's true? And so Gabriel kind of got mad, and he said, I'm Gabriel, I stand in the presence of God. And so he said it to imply that, I stand in the presence of God.
He was being arrogant with.
You mean Gabriel or
uh-huh.
Zachariah? Oh, yeah, sort of.
Gabriel.
Yeah, something like that.
A little bit.
A little arrogant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounded like it, but it was something that all of the spiritual beings don't get to do. All of the spiritual beings don't get to be in God's presence. So since Gabriel thought that was a positive thing or something that designated a higher ranking, then I would think that, the one. So similar to Christian hierarchy, the angels in the first sphere are always in God's presence, but then also though that since some aren't in His presence, those would be lower. So mine would be kind of based off of that proximity to God and relation to God. And so Gabriel must be higher than some other beings.
So this, I wonder if these angels have a hierarchy, right? Rank. If they're jealous beings, so now Jesus is saying the first will be last and the last will be first. So don't think that because you're close on the puppet, you'll be the first,
Oh, you mean for the angelic beings?
Yeah, when He comes in,
Oh.
His second coming.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work
Hey,
with
God,
that.
remember I was preaching and praying for you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, actually, that's interesting. I don't know if their rank will change. I mean, ours will. Christians, at least. I don't know if the angels. I think they'll, because they're not in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they are what they are. As long as they don't fall. All right. So that's actually the lesson for today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say this is walking away. Let's seek the truth and let's be the light.
Amen.
Amen.
So I said the angelic hierarchy came from, so it's kind of interesting, somebody called Pseudo-Dionysius. So, or the Catholic hierarchy came from, he was a 5th century monk. And so he wrote a book called De Celestial Hierarchia, meaning the celestial hierarchy.
Yeah.
And so the book it says it's written by Dionysius. So it's written, I think, to Timothy. So to Timothy from Dionysius. So Dionysius was the Athenian person that Paul converted. And so the book was to Timothy from Dionysius. But now then the scholars came and they thought that, okay, based on like some of the information and based on dissecting that work. So like when the Bible was written, when they canonized the Bible, there were a bunch of other texts. So there were a lot of other texts. And so back in hundreds of years after the apostles, there weren't just 66 books. There's like, maybe hundreds of books going around. So there was like a bunch of books, but some of them were real, some of them were fake. So there were books written by, this one may have said it was written by Matthew, and so this one said it was written by Dionysius, but they don't think it was really Dionysius, so they call him Pseudo-Dionysius, fake Dionysius. And
So that's why the Catholic Bible has so many books. Does it have more than the?
It has more. It has the Apocrypha, so it has.
How many books?
I don't know, like 7-ish or something. But yeah, because so those books were in the Christian Bible as well. Well, they were in the original Bible, but then they got taken out.
Well, they say whatever they wrote, those people wrote. See, most of these other books, you have reference in the Old Testament, right?
There are references to a lot of those books.
To Jesus
they're
and all
mentioned.
that.
Oh, Well, I mean, no, I'm saying that. Oh wait,
The
so
New
you-
Testament to the Old Testament, the books in the Christian Bible. But those books that we're taking that are in the Catholic Bible, they have no reference with the Old Testament.
no reference. Well, some of them are Old Testament,
Wait.
like the book of.
Or the New Testament, whatever, vice versa.
Oh, maybe. Maybe not the New Testament. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, not the New Testament. I think they're all Old Testament.
Yeah, but somehow they don't have reference to
To
the
Jesus.
New Testament. Yes.
Oh. Oh, maybe they don't have like. Yeah.
So it's like if I write a book, but Jesus is never mentioned in there, I cannot go from here to Genesis and refer to that.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that, I understood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know the exact reason. I know a couple of them are referred to in the Bible. So in our Bible, it does refer to some passages from some of those apocryphal books. And there, yeah. And then let's see, the other person, St. Thomas Aquinas, he wrote a book called Summa Theologica, which is like covered everything about the Catholic Church. And he had a part about angels, which was interesting. And it talks about everything about angels, from what do they eat, how fast do they move, can they die, do they have children, how do they communicate, what are their bodies like, and stuff like
And
that.
he's famous. There's a street named San Tomas Aquino.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was wondering why the name was familiar. That's true. I drive up to. Yeah, that's right. St. Thomas Aquino. Yeah.
It comes from all the Catholic, all the missions that came here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's famous. He was. Yeah, he wrote. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Catholic theology is based on that book that he wrote. I mean, because he wrote about everything. And so. Yeah. All right. So that's actually the lesson for today.